Yeah. So welcome
Alright,
back to the
wait.
second episode of DéliRant. We actually dropped our first episode today. So by the time you see this next week, you'll already have one episode to look at. Um, Something new that we're trying, like we said. Some of us actually facing technical difficulties right now, so I don't think Amo will be with us today. But right now is me, your boy Chizedek, aka Caution, and my bro Stoff, aka Stoffy, aka the wettest man alive, aka the Gallem boss, aka the Gallem sugar, aka Boots boss. Why had to say for her, bro?
Good evening, good afternoon, good night.
Like you have to contemplate on that one,
What we
boy.
talking about today, Kashan? Well,
All
you
right.
see now, boy. You had to take into
Mm-hmm.
account what time it is, and everybody in a different time zone now, boy. So account for everybody. Can't discriminate.
It be like that sometimes, bro. It be like that sometimes. How much we could do for that, but we appreciate everybody who's showing their support from this jump. Everybody coming on board and listening to us. Like we know you have a lot of better things to do with your time, and you chose that time to actually listen to what we had to say, and we hope that what we say is very impactful. So yeah, today's topic for conversation is sustainability in the Caribbean. Stuff. I'm not sure if you have a better understanding of sustainability than me. What you think? What you wanna say about it before we actually jump into the meat of the matter?
I mean, it have a lot of angles you could look at it. I mean, the obvious one that you get off the bat is that it deals with sources of energy. I mean, that is like
Mm-hmm.
well known throughout. From the time you hear sustainability, it's regards to uh, renewable forms of energy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think is more than just that.
Mm-hmm. What I think is
I
like you say is
mean,
more than just renewable forms of energy, because sustainability could touch on almost every aspect of everything that we're doing. So like our culture, the foods that we eat, the ways that we produce
yeah.
energy, how we like every aspect of our life. You could touch on sustainability in the Caribbean and see how we not being sustainable or how we could be more sustainable. Because question, do you think in the Caribbean right now that we are sustainable as it is?
I want to say no because I mean it depends on which angle you look at it, right? I mean, in terms of the
Mm,
energy sector, I'm gonna say no. That's a dead no, a serious no. We wasting all our natural resources. In terms
right.
of our economy, we very reliant on outside help as a Caribbean. We're very reliant on imports from the
How can you see
US
that?
and from wherever
I
else.
have to.
And that's something I
So
fully disagree
look
with.
as
You
it
know what I
how we
mean?
talking about this, we have Wishy now ready to jump on. So you're gonna invite Wishy into the discussion real quick.
Night fellas, how everything going? Everybody in the dance already.
Boy, today, today was a long day, boy. Today was an extremely long day. And I
Yeah,
just waiting for this day to be over. I just pick it up, I
you know
tired, I
you job
done.
busy, man.
But hear this now.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who know me from down here know that one of my part-time jobs when I come home is I work on a radio station. And this year when I
Right.
came back, they had me writing new scripts. So like I have to actually write the stories that I read. So I don't just read the stories just that anybody gives me anymore. I write the stories that I read.
Right.
And one of the things that made my day extremely long today was they burnt almost 5,000 pounds of marijuana today, as in the police discarded evidence, and it
Wow.
was about 3,400 plants, 5,000 pounds of marijuana, 11 pounds of resin, and
Mm.
446 pounds of cocaine. Don't ask me why I remember that one specifically, but it was 446 cocaine, dog. And I just remember like all the time we were talking before, one of the topics that we thought I would have touched on would have been like the legalization of marijuana in the Caribbean and those kinds of things. And I just found it very
Right.
funny because speaking with one of the officers, he was like, the way his whole attitude was more or less he didn't want to do it, he didn't want to be there, but it's not legal here yet, so he have to do what the police had to do. And it just made me laugh now, but I couldn't fight down the whole legalization talk up there because it was on police compound and thing. So that
Right.
was my day, running back and forth, up and down, trying to get news stories together and actually dealing with customers and clients and all kind of things. So yeah, I real tired.
Nah, that's things to get your vex. And what you say with the police officers is true, even in the States and even in Trinidad, police officers don't want to police us. Police officers do not want that at all. If they could ignore having to deal with marijuana issues, they say it has a mute point at this point in time in history. Like it is pretty
Mhm,
much accepted widely that whatever
mhm,
your views are on marijuana, people shouldn't go to jail for it. Police
mhm.
officers they really want to police it, but like the man have a job to do, unfortunately. And you had to burn some weed if that
It
was
is what
the
it is.
punishment that they do, that we had to do.
That's what you ought to do. And I think tying this all back into the topic that we have for today, which is sustainability in the Caribbean, is that that might be one of the most unsustainable practices that we have because we spend so much money, so much time, so much effort policing the drug and trying to get the drugs off the streets rather than spending that time, that money, that effort in actually helping the people who need the help. I think that's one of the biggest shifts that we need to see in the Caribbean for us to be able to say that we're moving forward. Stop needlessly sending men to jail for a 20 bag of weed or a ounce of something or a pound or something. Like, it makes no sense. You take that money that they would have spent on putting that person in prison, paying for them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, putting clothes on their back for X amount of years, and put
Mm.
that into actually rehabilitating the person and giving them a job and see how fast that person gonna move away from the drugs and that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, stuff. I don't know if you're not touching it before I go through, and I'll touch down too.
I think that the way that we handle drug abuse is more of being a crime rather than a disease sort of thing, like, rather than these
Mm-hmm.
people need to be punished, they should be helped, you know what I'm saying? Like, these people need help. I think the
Exactly.
Yeah,
mentality and the way we look at it is a big thing.
Yep.
nah,
I agree 100%.
that's true, though. And like, it's just funny. We in the Caribbean. The Caribbean, we have a very strong history of agriculture because of our colonial past. Unfortunately, is looked down upon now because of that colonial past. That's a different conversation. But it's just kind of funny that the police they're locking up people for growing marijuana, but they just like you're basically throwing farmers in jail. Like I know it's illegal and stuff
Exactly.
like that, but essentially what you are doing is that you are taking people who are farming and you are putting them in jail because
The
they
same
grow a
man,
different crop. Yeah, and
exactly. The same man that could grow an acre worth of marijuana for you today is the same man that could grow an acre worth of plantain or dashing or bananas tomorrow. Like, help the
and
man, give the man
growing
other
an acre,
options.
Well, I mean,
growing an acre, we is not no easy thing
to
neither.
that point, I would say to that point, I would say it is not really the fault of the policemen because they are just there to uphold the laws, but
You know,
rather the
for sure.
people that make the laws. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah. Agreed.
Because you would
100%
see a lot
agreed.
of people being upset with the officers for doing their job. I mean, but as the law stands, they have to do that. So it's really for us to push and uh, what was the word I'm looking for? Uh, push on the politicians to make changes in the laws that currently, so that way you could actually benefit rather than complain to the officers that are just doing their job. I mean, it really comes back to the way that we look at things, you know?
Yeah, nah,
Yeah,
I
that's it
agree.
really.
As I say, stuff, you can't really blame the police because they're doing their job at the end of the day, but it's really up to it's up to the
Yeah.
politicians and it's up to the public as well because we don't put enough pressure on
Yeah.
our politicians as a public to really push this matter forward because we are locking up farmers. Like I just want people to understand that we are throwing farmers in jail and hardworking farmers as well. People and I mean we could spend a lot of time going into all of the medical uses of marijuana, the fact that some people use it recreationally and stuff like that.
Too much time.
But regardless of all of that, we taking people and we throwing them in jail for something like that. And I feel as though this particular issue deserves a lot more attention than it's getting. And to add to the conversation, it would aid in sustainable development because one, the burning of the fields is extremely environmentally costly because they're just throwing more smoke into the atmosphere. You're burning large fields for absolutely no
Exactly.
reason. You're throwing agricultural entrepreneurs in jail. Is ridiculous. So we honestly we can't say that we are serious about sustainable development in the Caribbean until we touch on legalizing marijuana.
Agreed. Agreed. But we will come back to the marijuana talk in another episode. We promise you that's one of the things that we definitely have to talk about.
Yeah, for
But let's
sure.
look at it from a more
That,
holistic view in terms of the sustainability of the Caribbean. Because as we can see, as we know, let me start it this way. As we know, the majority of the revenue of the Caribbean countries is trade tourism. In as much as we want to say we have other sectors, we have other ways of getting revenue, all these kinds of things, or other exports, the majority of it is tied to tourism. With the exception of a few countries like Trinidad, who has natural oil and natural gas, and one or two other countries, a lot of countries rely heavily on tourism. My country, Dominica, especially. And the fact that we had the coronavirus this year that basically made it impossible for us to get our lifeblood, which is tourism, then it kind of put a wrench in the gears of daily living, I should say, because we no longer able to get foreign investors, get foreign income, happy to come here, see sites and everything. And now we have to rely on ourselves. And that is the biggest part, that's the biggest thing about the whole sustainability talk that I think we should have today is the fact that as a nation, all the other forms of revenue that we were generating from outside, we now have to look within ourselves to be able to supplement our income and survive as a nation because you're trying to tell me if we don't get 50,000 tourists that half of the people cannot eat? And that's not something that makes a lot of sense to me. Even though we are one of the top nature destinations in the world, one of the top tourist destinations in the world, as the Caribbean region as a whole, not just my country, the Caribbean region as a whole, we cannot always just rely on outside sources. We have to be able to do things for ourselves and maintain ourselves to a certain level where we can go to eat and breathe on our own.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, yeah, now for sure. I don't know if y'all would have touched on how would y'all define sustainable development?
Stop, take that one.
Well, we started about
Stop.
it. We were saying that is more. Yeah, we were saying that is more than just renewable forms of energy, but also I was getting to the side of it that we have to be more efficient in our economy. In that we can't be
Right.
totally reliant on uh, tourism or import, as to say, because especially in Trinidad, I think our food import bill was somewhere between 4 billion and 6 billion TT dog, and that's
Yeah,
absurd,
yeah,
you know. And I know that it has to do a lot with consumer choice and taste and that sort of thing. But I mean, it have absolutely no good reason why agriculture shouldn't be pushed more in this country and why we shouldn't be self-sustainable. At least at least with regards to domestic production, though. Like I mean,
no, for sure.
we in a pandemic right now, right?
Mhm.
Like so, we restricted from the rest of the world. What what's supposed to happen, when you can't bring food in and stuff? We just supposed to suffer? Obviously that hasn't happened, but I mean, just saying, like, suppose it was much much more worse,
Right.
apart from like saving money. Like, I just feel like the our population would benefit locally grown food and that sort of thing now, boy.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
agree. But honestly, I feel like we already have suffered though. I feel like we are suffering through this pandemic, and we are seeing effects of unsustainability. Because look at, for one, Liat, right? Liat is a company right now which is
Yeah.
owned by the government of Barbados, St. Grenadines, Dominica, and Antigua and Barbuda.
Right.
And it's based in Antigua and Barbuda, and they're not even the major shareholder. So you own the a company. Let me give the listeners a brief history, right? In 1956, Liad started with flights between Antigua and Barbuda and Montserrat. From there, gradually, it expanded to cover most of the Caribbean, stretching from Puerto Rico all the way down to Guyana. And at one point in time, it was owned by 11 countries in the Caribbean. 11 Caribbean governments had stakes in Liad. And little by little over the years, we know the problems with Liad. One by one, governments pulled out to the point where we only have Barbados, Antigua, Dominica, and St. Vincent leading and owning Liad. After Corona 19, or COVID 19, I should say, after COVID 19 began and we had to close down all the borders across the Caribbean, Liat saw even more problems because you had to pay all these leases, you had to pay workers, you had to pay all these people, but you're not making any money. And it's not just the fact that you're not making any money, you've not been making money for years. I'm not sure if a
Right.
lot of people know that, but Liat has been in the red for years. We have not been making money. And year after year after year, governments have been having to bail out Liat. At what cost? Like, we bailing them out. Yeah, fine. Let's bail them out. Let's give them the money that they need to survive now. How can you show me tomorrow that the money that I give you, you're using it to make more? Why do I need to come back and give you more money again? And after the fact that I already have bailed you out, you like it is so volatile. Like the market is so volatile. Look at in 2017 when we had like two Category 5 hurricanes pass through the Caribbean, plus how many other storms. And Leah took a massive hit. Like when I say massive hit, they took a massive hit because of that. And now because we had to shut down everything, no money now make it, and we have to liquidate
Yeah.
Liad. The bridge, mind you, for so many countries, like the number of countries who will no longer be connected to other countries because there's no longer Liad is amazing. Like for Dominica
Mm-hmm.
alone, for me to go to most of the countries in the Caribbean is only Liad I could take. Like for real, for real, for real.
Yeah. Nah. That whole Leah thing is definitely a problem. But as you said, it definitely ties into like our idea of sustainable development. But what was just quickly on that? What was which countries, any countries committed to injecting cash into them, so into Liat as yet? Because I think, if I'm not
Antigua's
mistaken, as
government
well as
right now is trying
going to.
to yeah, Antigua's government under the
Mm-hmm.
leadership of Gaston Brown right now is trying to see how they could not liquidate Liat and restructure the entire company. But according to some news reports, the Barbados government, under the leadership of Mia Motley, has decided that no, it's time to liquidate Liat because it's constantly in the red, and she has the support of the other minority shareholders, being Dominica and St. Vincent. However, even in Dominica, our prime minister has been given talks about supporting Liat, so it's still kind of on the fence. But right now, the majority shareholder being Barbados has already decided that they want to liquidate Liat. They don't see the point in having Liat anymore. And I cannot blame them, right? I really cannot blame them. Barbados has an international airport. It's one of the international hubs for the Caribbean. They're making their money. As far as they concern, Liat is
Is
only gaining money from them. What can we
exactly.
do otherwise? What is the problem? Why Liat has to be losing so much money?
Like how much people really take Liat in the Caribbean, to be honest. Like Caribbean Airlines is already such a massive, like has the biggest stronghold in the
Bro,
Caribbean.
very the majority of UE students who come from the Caribbean fly on Liat. The
Really?
majority. With the exception of those who go to
Okay, I
places like
did
St.
not know
Vincent, St. Lucia, Jamaica, and sometimes get a flight on Cal, the majority of students fly on Liat.
information tidbit for me there because I really didn't know that.
Yep, yep. Imagine when the
Wait,
pandemic
nah,
started.
wait, you
You
sure
remember
we
when they
know,
were
boy?
kicking people off a hall? Dog, you remember when they were kicking people off a hall?
Mhm.
And in March, when the
Yeah,
pandemic
but it's
started,
not Caribbean Airlines.
we were
Was
able
it?
to pull a plane and a
Yeah.
half. The last flight, a matter of fact, which I got on, we were able to pull a plane and a half of students just from SAL.
Mhm.
And then the last set of people who couldn't get flights. We chartered a flight to come home. That's
Wow.
how integral Liat is to most of it. And it was not only people to Dominica, we had Dominicans, Antiguans, Vincentians, and I think we had one or two people going up to like St. Kitts or one of those other islands on the flight as well.
Right.
To
Fair
be
enough.
very frank and honest, the only time I don't use Liat in my country is if I fly into Puerto Rico where I could use Seaborne Airlines, or if I fly into one of the French countries where I could use Air Antilles or Air Caraïbes. Like apart from that, I must use Liat.
So really going on with Liat, boy.
Right? And that whole talk about Liat brings me to the next thing that I wanted to ask you guys about. So we know COVID around, we know borders are locked down, we know international travel is still very iffy up till today. Do you guys really think that we're gonna be able to open for Carnival? Like all the countries in the Caribbean. Like, do you think Carnival is gonna be a thing next year?
I don't see.
I think for some countries, they're gonna open, but I would be against it. I mean, because if if you have a strictly local carnival, then fair enough. I mean, I feel like that could be managed.
Right.
But I don't think you should open it to countries because I mean, look at America; they handle it so poorly. You simply just can't trust that people, gonna be safe and whatever, whatever. I mean, yeah,
All right,
I
but
feel it
Stoff,
should stick
you as a
strictly local.
Trinidadian resident, do
I
you
share
think that
exactly the
Trinidad can
same
have a
sentiment.
strictly local carnival? Do you guys as
Well,
Trinis think that you all can
me
have a strictly local carnival?
To be honest, I see
me
Trinidad
as
would accept
a
itself
FET
either
goer,
way.
a participant, it don't matter. But obviously, to the
Yeah.
people higher up that hosting the FET and thing, they would care. They would say, nah, you know what I'm saying? We
Mhm.
need the people there. We owe we
All
money.
right. So let me
Otherwise,
rephrase. Let me rephrase. Do you think that you guys will still have the level of feds that you had this year as you will have last year, or as you will have next year?
nah,
Nah. Yeah, to keep
nah, I
it.
don't think so.
Carnival is a serious money maker for Trinidad. Like I think people really do.
That's my point.
Yeah, people really taking just how much money. We not just some people coming out for obviously it will have a trickle effect and a multiplier effect because it's people having to rent hotels, people coming and buying bacon shop when they go to the beach, people just buying all sorts of stuff. Like and the money that you have to pay for security and just all the different things that you need into making fest and stuff like that. Carnival is a real big money maker, so it will definitely not be the same. But I think that we would still, I think we already made the decision. The Carnival Committee
Mhm.
decided that we're gonna have it local, and I don't see a reason, unless there are spikes in cases in Trinidad and in other Caribbean islands. I don't see why it is they wouldn't go with the local only carnival.
But you see, that's the point I'm trying to get
Because they
at,
still want that
because
kind of economic activity happening.
if you watch how Carnival is marketed in the Caribbean, we all have Carnival. Every country has their own version of Carnival. I'm not trying to say that it started
Hmm.
in one country, but it is something that we all share as part of our culture through racism. Well, not through racism, through um, slavery, I should say, not through racism, through slavery. It's something that
Right.
we share as our culture through slavery. It can really is a celebration of when the slaves were freed, when we no longer had to answer to white masters, when we were given the opportunity to go in the streets and revel and enjoy ourselves. Apart from the religious connotations of carnival itself, because a lot of people don't know that carnival is a very religious thing as well.
It
The
is.
reason falls with four Ash Wednesdays for religion is the
Hmm.
last 2 days where you're supposed to use all the flour and oil in your house before you start fasting. All the flour, the oil, the meat, everything. And that is why on Carnival, some of the more popular foods you find would be stuff like bakes and fried chicken and those kinds of things. But keeping on point,
Hmm.
every country markets their carnival different. Dominica is what we have called the real mass. Trinidad has the biggest carnival. Grenada has Jab
Hmm.
Jab. Vinci has their own version of Carnival. Bahamas has their own version. Antigua has their own version. Vinci
In
Spice
sure.
Mass. All these things. Every country has their own. And I know people my age and younger,
Hmm.
and people a little older than me as well, who travel from island to island to experience different carnivals. And that's just within the Caribbean.
Right.
Then you have everybody who is an expert, everybody who has overseas, everybody who left the country and went to America, England, or Canada and spend their whole life, and now they have the money and they're ready to retire. They come down for the carnival and go back home and this kinds of thing. And
Right.
from my personal perspective, looking from outside looking in, experiencing what Trinity Carnival is, you really get to see the amount of people that fly in for a fete, not even to go to Carnival, you know. The amount of
True.
people that fly in for one fete, two fete, and then one of those kinds of things. Like
Right.
Piaco Airport during Carnival time is a mess, you know.
It's
Like to
insane.
be very
Yeah.
honest, the amount of people that and Trinidad has marketed itself so well and in such a way that I would even venture to say that if not majority, at least about half of the patrons who go to these feds for carnival are people who come from overseas, whether it be within the Caribbean or elsewhere. Because a lot of these people you don't see them throughout the year. And I know Trinidad is a big place where you will not see some people. But a lot of these people, you don't see them throughout the year. And you only get a call or a message from them to say, yo, I hear what fete we going to or something like that. People who come down solely for the purpose of going to Carnival or to fets. Like Dominica experiences that too. When we have our World Creole Music Festival, that's something that we have to look at as well in terms of how we doing it with COVID. Our World Music Festival is 3 nights of pulsating rhythm. That's how we market it. And you have so many international stars with so many people from across the world
Right.
coming down to Dominica. And we make a lot of money off of that. And it's no secret and no hidden fact that the Caribbean makes money off of international travel and visitors to the islands. And how are we going to claim to be a sustainable region when one global pandemic, which has crippled the airline industry, basically, is crippling us so much that we cannot even enjoy our own feds because we no longer had the money to do our own feds because we not getting the patrons that we were getting before. I think that raises two questions. One, why are we as locals not doing more to support the feds and the events that we actually have on island? And two, why do we market ourselves to be so reliant on other people to make our event successful?
Stoff. I don't know if you want to touch on this first.
So the first question, I would
Yeah,
say
this
that
this
so the first question, I would say that I disagree. I mean, especially in Trinidad, I feel like we do patronize everything. I mean, Trinidadians love our lime, any excuse to lime. So I don't feel like that's a thing for us to not, even given the times, the economy, you would find the money somehow to go on lime, That's not an issue for us. I think
That is
and
very
sustainable.
true.
the issue is that we are accustomed to this lifestyle. We are accustomed to this laid back party lifestyle, liming. I mean, is not really productive, And the whole thing about relying on outside help, because I mean, years and years and years, people just come to the Caribbean to vacation, I mean, they don't see here as a place where people live and work and thing, Here is just a paradise that get away. And I think obviously, I mean, I don't want to say is a good thing the pandemic came, but I mean, there are things to come out of this, positives that you could take, or realizations that things need to be done differently. I mean,
True.
there's no reason we should be so reliant on tourism. Tourism should be our afterthought, We keep it up, but it's not like we need it, As well as to the whole having the carnival thing. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have carnival, but there should definitely be a step-by-step process about allowing people, if you are going to allow them, into the country, about testing and all that sort of thing. And I think even right now, obviously I know for the stakeholders, they would need to know as early as possible, but right now for a government to make that decision about having carnival is way too soon. I mean, it's more than 6 months away, and we honestly have no idea what the year is going to throw in your part, dog. Like, this year has been absurd.
Boy.
Stuff. Sorry to cut you off, bro. Sorry to cut you off. But two things, right? I'm not saying that Chinese don't patronize the events. I'm not saying that. But you should everybody on Trinidad knows by now that sometimes you want to buy a fet for ticket for a fet, sorry, and they tell you the fet sold out. But if you go on Ticket Federation online, you can buy the ticket in US dollars. Like, it's sold to people outside of the country. They are still tickets you can buy outside of the country. Like, they market to people outside of the Caribbean, not just for Trinidad alone. They market to people outside the Caribbean heavily. And
No, but I just
apart from just saying we should leave it up. It's true. It's true.
There's nothing I can do about
but apart
that,
from just saying we should leave it up to the government.
If somebody don't want me,
how we
if somebody don't want me in them fet, I'm not going. And when I like to go, I'd find a next fet to go. But
I mean,
like,
we do that. But what I'm saying is, do you think it's feasible to try to still bring people down, try and have procedures to bring people down when we know that the standard quarantine time for the coronavirus is 14 days? Who's going to get 14 days up on top of the 3 days or the 4 days or the 5 days they want to spend in the country? Like,
honestly,
I certainly don't think it's feasible.
I don't think it's feasible, and I also don't think that is necessary. Like, a part of me wants to believe that party promoters can have profitable events just focusing on local patronage. Like, I'm genuinely saying that it is possible to have a very profitable carnival and just focus on Trinidad, especially during Corona time. I really don't see why. I mean, I can see why it would be an issue if you just do have access to foreign dollars coming in, but I want to believe as well that if it is they know people from away not going to be able to come down, they may be a little bit more encouraged to lower their prices to therefore expand the audience or the amount of people that would be able to afford their event and more people would join in.
It looks like we just lost Wishi's feed, his audio, his video feed. I'm not sure what went on. Wishi, you still there? Yes,
I think yeah.
yeah, it looked like he
Yeah,
dropped
that's
for a
back on.
second.
Okay, reach back.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, but now I really feel as though party promoters could pull it off, and or it could have the opposite because we're talking about people from away not coming down. But what if, because remember there's still the virus scare going on, and there are some people who believe that even though the government might sanction carnivals that happen, they're not necessarily gonna want to be jumping up next to hundreds of people on the street. So what if people just simply refuse to go out on the road for carnivals? That could be entirely different. That could be an entirely different scenario that is quite plausible.
Mhm.
Some people
Well,
might
you
just watch
see,
it and say, nah, I just
from a
think
Dominican perspective, like it's not gonna be anything brand new to us, seeing that the majority of our events, as with the exception of a few like Carnival and not even so much Carnival, but mostly like the World Creole Music Festival, Jazz and Creole Fest, and those kinds of things. Those are what are really bringing the foreign travel to us, and usually it's because we have people on cruise ships come down for the day or something like that. But Carnival in itself in Dominica
right.
for a very long time has maintained itself as a very cultural event to the extent that is a lot of cultural bands,
Mm,
one, a lot of local bands, local cuisine, local restaurants, everything coming out and putting on a show. And it's the people from the highest manager to the daily paid staff to the cleaners to everybody is the people who come out on the street in their respective communities or come down to town and party and have fun. Yes, you have people from overseas coming down, but our carnival is so different from Trinidad's carnival. Like people don't come down to our carnival to party like how Trini's party because we party completely different. I could very well see a small island state like Dominica, probably one small as St. Kitts, some probably one like St. Lucia, one of the others where you don't have so much of a I don't know of a global influence on the product. Is more cultural
right.
that they could maintain to have a very low-key cultural self-contained event with the people around us because Dominica's been COVID-free for at least the last month or so. Like we haven't had a
That's good.
case, an increasing case, a locally transmitted case since somewhere, matter of fact. Like it's
Right.
been a very long while since we actually had anything. So very easy for countries like Dominica and other small island states to host an event like that. But when you come to like the bigger countries like Bahamas, when I say bigger, I don't necessarily mean geographically bigger. I mean bigger in population. Those countries like Bahamas,
Right.
Jamaica, and Trinidad, Barbados, where one, they are international hubs in the Caribbean. Like it or not, they are international hubs. Two,
Right.
they market themselves heavily for tourism, much more than the smaller islands are capable of. They have the revenue, they have the manpower, they have the human resource to market themselves much stronger for tourism than we can. And three is like the way in which they sell themselves, the way in which they put on the shows. You could tell it's no longer completely cultural because even in Trinidad you have the Marsh Grant where you have all the cultural costumes being on display. You have the
Right.
old mask basically, all the old mask costumes
Right.
being
So
put on
that's stick
display,
fighting
and
and
then
stuff like that.
after the old mask competition, there the judge and the whatever is
Mm-hmm.
hi-fi and Brazil style carnival, for want of a better term. Like that's the kind of carnival that we moving towards to as a Caribbean region. That's the kind of carnival that we're trying to compete with. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
see it being very feasible for us as Caribbean countries to open back so soon for no reason, a matter of fact. I honestly feel what is going to push sustainability and push progress and development in the Caribbean is if we start to actually come together more as a region and interact amongst ourselves more, get to know each other more, get to experience the different countries in the Caribbean more. Because I'm 25, and if I could tell you I've been to 10 Caribbean countries and spent time in 10 Caribbean countries, I lie. And that's a shame. That's a damn shame. Like,
How much you spend time in
you're not
really answering
supposed
the
to live your
question?
life and not know your neighbor. That
You
what's
spend
that?
you're spending how much time you spend in other Caribbean countries? You spend in Trinidad, obviously.
Um,
And we're
I
not counting
spent
Dominica.
hmm, not
Because I
counting
honestly have the
Dominica.
same
I
I have the
spent
same share the same sentiments as you because I haven't spent much time in maybe just for holidays in some Caribbean countries, but not to say that I truly understand the culture and stuff like that. And
not
that's a
even
shame because
I
all
spent
our
one
Caribbean
holiday in
brothers
St.
are.
Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, when I was 4, I spent one holiday in St. Thomas. I spent cumulatively roughly about probably 2.5 weeks in Martinique. I spent cumulatively about 3 weeks in Barbados. I have been to St. Lucia for a couple of days. I have gone, where else have I been? And that's about it within the Caribbean. I have not gone to that many countries in the Caribbean, shame to say. Trinidad and
Stuff,
Dominica are
what
the two
about you,
places
boy?
I spend the most time.
Stuff, you there?
Lord, it looked like we lost stuff
Wait.
again. Nah, stuff. I feel the other wheel and come back there, bro.
Yeah, we in here at all, boy.
Yeah, wheel and come back.
But as you say that way question, boy, it just kind of goes to show that a lot of these things that we can do to
Mhm,
help with sustainable development and things that people would necessarily tie. So,
mhm,
for instance, stronger ties within the Caribbean and easier access to travel among Caribbean countries that will aid in sustainable development. I mean, it's not something that
mhm.
you would think of directly
Now,
helping it, but when you really consider that for some Caribbean, I remember I was talking to some regional friends, and this might just be more of a commentary on Trinidad than
mhm,
other Caribbean countries. But we were talking about how other Caribbean countries have like they go through maps of the Caribbean and they learn about the other Caribbean countries and stuff. And in Trinidad, we really do learn about anybody else other than ourselves. Like ask a Trinidadian the
yeah,
name of the country growing up from from Trinidad, and they probably can't tell you.
right.
And
I
so,
I happy you made that point too, because is like I keep telling people is really our fault why we in this predicament as a people. And honestly, in speaking to some of my other friends, like back when I was on the guild, I spoke to one of the other hall chairs. I'm not sure if you
right,
remember Trudy.
yeah,
And Trudy
you
almost
know,
laughed in my face and told me I didn't know what I was talking about because everything I was saying that we needed was something that happened in the West Indian Federation. And see how quickly that fell
mm-hmm,
apart.
yeah,
And honestly, from a layman's perspective, the Federation might have very well been one of the best things that could have happened to us had we done what we were supposed to do to maintain it and not
that was
been
the key.
greedy and not
Yeah,
been selfish and not been. Isolationist. That's one of the problems that we face.
Because the best things about the Caribbean are quite literally um come out of the idea of the federation. When you think about UE, CARICOM, the common market, like
Exactly.
like all of those things came out from the federation, but for some reason we
Exactly.
never took that final step to really becoming a federation.
That is my point. That is my point. Like we're not doing enough. We're not doing enough. Stuff, you with us again?
Oh, what's up? Y'all hear me?
Yeah, bro.
But
You with
yeah,
us?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know.
Okay, safe. Okay, safe, 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 safe.
But yeah,
I
so
I don't know what to say about the whole federation thing though. I feel like ego has a big part to play in it. We made a lot
for
of
sure.
mistakes. I don't know. I feel like really hopeless looking into politics, dog. I mean, like the whole politics of the situation, not just like
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's look at another aspect of sustainability then, right? Let's look at food production. As we know, Trinidad is one of the biggest producers in the Caribbean when it comes to manufactured food products. To the point where you all are so pervasive that other countries feel like Trini products are theirs. Big man thing, I grew up thinking Crix was from Dominica for a long time.
Right, right,
I
right.
used to say Crix is a Dominican thing. Buster is the next thing, Buster and Chubby. I used to say that is Dominica. Only to find out years later it's a Trini thing. Now, yes, as a region, it would be nice, it would be easy, it would be very profitable for us to say we have one country producing certain things, other countries buying, and in return, they produce something, and the country that produced first would buy from them what they don't have. But we don't really see that happening, right?
Right.
Dominica boasts 365 rivers. We bottle our own water, not desalinated water. I just want to put that out there. And
Right.
I don't see it being exported as much as I would see something like Blue Waters. And I just mean like we have so many other Trini products on our shelves. Why don't we look to having our products on their shelves?
Mm-hmm.
Why, and apart from just doing that, why don't we maintain the quality of our products to make sure that other countries want to buy our products? Like why don't we do those things?
capitalism.
I agree. Always capitalism.
Capitalism.
Now he ain't lie though.
We see that whole topic is yours right now. Capitalism,
Nah,
take it away.
stuff preaching right now though. Stuff preaching right now. But nah, really and truly, I think that we've become very accustomed. So like the same way how you said that there were certain items like crick and chubby and stuff like that you thought were Dominican, we have all become just very
Mhm.
accustomed to, this is the way that things are. And insofar as we can maintain it, let's not really try to improve on it. So as far as other countries might be concerned, as long as certain Caribbean countries are exporting and we don't have to go through the problem, quote unquote, of having to develop these products ourselves, we will just continue to buy them. And because of that, there's really no incentive.
Agree.
There's no incentive for other Caribbean countries to really want to make these products because as far as they're concerned, they're getting it from Trinidad. And and for us, when we take products from either America or Europe or the Caribbean countries, there's no incentive for us to make them because we could purchase them easily. There was really never that much of a desire for us to make stuff once we could have bought it. And that just kind of continues ever since I find.
All right. And I think one of the last things that we should look at before we wrap up as well would be our natural resources. Because again, the only thing I could do here right now is speak from a Dominican perspective, in the sense that we put so much emphasis on ecotourism, on water sports, on hiking, on the foreign forests, on the pools and the lakes that we have. Like that's what we market ourselves as: the rivers, the waterfalls, the beaches, everything. The years
Right.
I've spent in Trinidad have shown me that Trinidad is an extremely beautiful country. And I say that with no reservations at all. Trinidad and Tobago is an extremely beautiful country. And a lot of people would say, yeah, Trinidad and Tobago, but Tobago is where it is now. Right? No, Tobago has its own natural features that makes it beautiful. Trinidad has its own natural features that makes it beautiful. The problem is we don't market them in Trinidad like we should. And
Right.
I that baffles me, dog. Like it really baffles me. You know how many Trinis tell me that I have traveled to more places in Trinidad than them?
Yeah.
Like I actually have a list of places in Trinidad I want to go now. Like I want to go to the observation tower, I want to go to the mud volcano, I want to go to the bird sanctuary, and I'll probably have like one or two other places I want to go to. But when you think of places like Manzanilla, Three Pools, Cedros, Icacos, Grand Couva, all these places in Trinidad where you have natural features where you could go to and experience nature in a different setting in Trinidad. And a lot of people just don't know about it. Like, why we not emphasizing these things? All these things is what I think that we could do to help make us more sustainable as a region.
As in like having an
I
appreciation
mean,
for
when
yeah stuff.
I mean, your perspective would be different to ours, caution. I mean, you come here from another country, so you want to experience everything compared to like when you live in here and you're accustomed to it. It's like it's whenever, you know what I'm saying. I mean that's a
Stuff,
mentality
I
that a
will
lot of
stop you
people would
right
have,
there.
for sure.
I'm going to stop you right there. In Dominica today, you know what's one of the most popular things for people to do right now? To go on an island drive and visit a new natural location in the country. Since I came back when COVID started, we have been under lockdown. It's only now lockdown has been lifted, I think, last week. And every week, at least once a week, I have either gone to a new river, a new waterfall, a new beach, or seen a new part of the rainforest or traveled for a new community in my country. And Dominica is very small compared to Trinidad. And that's the Dominican mindset. That's the kind of mindset that we keep. Like, yeah, we're living in this country, but we don't know what the hell in this country. Let me go. And those of you who follow me on social media, those of you on my Instagram, those of you who see what I post up on Twitter when I post my pictures and things, you always see me in a new place. Like it always looks like Dylan traveling somewhere and Dylan experiencing a new part of the island, he hiking, he adventuring and all that kind of things. Like I have people who message me mad because I don't invite them on adventures that I go on. But the thing is for me, it's very impromptu. It's we have it, I have nothing doing. Let me go look for it, right? And the difference that I see in Trinidad is we have it, we know it there by doing this. Let me forget about it for now. And that's the kind of attitude that I am faced
That's
with
what
a
I'm
lot of
telling
the
you.
time.
I think it's also yeah stuff.
That's,
I don't
that's
do
what I
it
was trying to
now.
say. That's just how it is. I mean, like if I go to Bigo, for sure once I have to drive around the whole island, dog. Here is more. It'll be more planned. If I have a hike or on the beach, it's planned things. You just go pick up yourself because I mean you have other things to do, and that is our mentality. That is just our mentality,
Mm-hmm.
dog.
But
I mean,
stop,
but it
make
also
the
comes down to
time. Make the
no,
time,
seriously,
bro.
no. The big thing that you would say that like Trinidad have a lot of crime, and I'm not gonna lie to you, everywhere has crime, dog. But if I think about going somewhere sketchy, I'm gonna be like, I will probably hold back. You know?
I ain't tell you to
No
go in
stress,
any
no
sketchy
stress.
spots, no. All right, so why all the people? I'm
I
No,
betting
think
you,
but
if half the
the story
people,
from today though. The
if half
story from
the people
today.
who go to
The story
Maracas
from
or Las
today.
Cuevas decide to go somewhere else, it'll be different.
what I think what I think part of it is that in countries where, and not to be the guy that harps on capitalism too much, but in countries where you have a very business centered environment, people are going to feel less detached to the natural environment. Like if you look at a lot of countries where they're just known for like a lot of economic caution. I like how you change my name there, but that's small thing. If you look at countries where there's a lot of economic activity going on, the people don't really have that close of a connection with
That is
their
my
natural resources. Take for example America, Trinidad,
Yeah.
Canada, England.
Hmm.
I don't know what it is specifically, but there's just not that much of a desire. I think it's a lack of appreciation for natural resources because natural resources are just seen as a tool for generating profit, which is why every time China does have that debate about increasing the tourism sector, and the common argument is that, well, we will never do it
Hmm.
because we are oil and gas economy. Thing is that it's not just that, is that we don't really see our environment as an economic tool
Hmm.
for generating wealth. So we really don't have that much of an appreciation for it. Even in other islands where there's not that much economic activity, people feel if you go to Maracas Beach, will quicker be dirty than any beach of any other Caribbean country. St. Vincent, Barbados, St. Lucia, Dominica, the beaches will almost always be clean. Not Trinidad on any given day.
It's true. I agree. But you see, that is one of the problems I think that we need to address as well. Is why do we need to focus so heavily on one aspect of our economy or our society and not try and look at society holistically? Because that is the whole concept of sustainability, you know. You do things so that you have backup, so
Correct.
you have extra things. So if one thing fails, you have something else to supplement it. And
Right.
Dominica has that problem because we focus heavily on tourism and ecotourism. Trinidad has that problem because they focus heavily on oil. Other nations in the Caribbean have that same problem because they focus solely on one thing, like Antigua. Antigua's argument now is that their sole revenue earner from CARICOM is Liat. So that is why they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to get rid of Liat. But how can one airline, you have an international airport in your country, you
Mm-hmm.
just rebuilt your international airport in your country. How can one small regional airline be your breadwinner? You have so much. You boast 365 beaches. You boast that you have pink sand in your country, all these kinds of things. And I'm speaking directly to Antiguans right now. So many
Is
things
that
could have
this is
gone
a call out?
good for Antigua. Yeah, I'm calling them out because one by one we had to call out these countries. I already calling out my country because
But
ecotourism alone will not make us survive.
right.
Let's be very honest. We need to go back to the roots. Based and when I say the roots, I mean like what our grandparents did. We need to go back to agriculture. We need to go back to farming. We have to look at our natural industries and see how now we can move away from just saying these are the natural things that we have. Let's promote that and move to these are the natural things that we have. How can we use these things now to help build up on other things in other areas of the country so that we can build the country as a whole? Because if you focus on tourism and you send everybody into a tourist job like we have in Dominica, when the tourists no longer come in, the hotels are closed,
Mm-hmm.
the restaurants are closed, everything is closed because COVID is ravaging through the world. No, all these people cannot make money. Restaurants cannot sell food. Hotels cannot accommodate visitors. All these things. What else are we doing to say, okay, well, now we're not getting this income from this area? What
Mm-hmm.
happened to the other areas we're supposed to be getting income from? I want before we close, I want to bring it back quickly to when Dominica had the problem with the banana industry, because before tourism, bananas was our main export, and you can't get more Caribbean than exporting bananas. I'm just saying, like that blew my mind when I really
Right,
started to study it in school. That the main money earner was one food crop, and the government put this
right.
whole um policy into play where we had to diversify for a good few years. The talk was diversify, 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 and we diversified so much you hardly have banana farmers anymore, but you hardly have any other kind of farmers anymore because everybody trying to do something, and if you're not working out, they just move into something. Granted, Dominica has some of the healthiest foods in the Caribbean. Dominica has some of the most natural foods in the Caribbean. We export stuff like fig and dash into other countries, yes, but at the same time, why, apart from just exporting the fig and dashing, why we cannot produce something from the fig and dashing and then export? And you know how funny it is in Dominica, and this is me calling out Dominicans now because I see them do it in a lot of different areas. We take the natural resource, we
Right.
export the natural resource as is, and then we buy back the product from other people. And that makes no sense to me.
You see, because
That makes absolutely no sense to me. I've seen it
because
in agriculture and I've seen it in other areas.
that's because they're looking for money. When it is, you see people. I think another part of the problem is that a lot of Caribbean leaders were raised in that school of thought where the only way to measure development is by like GDP and the amount of money that a country makes. And I think that what is happening is that there's a generational shift where people are starting to realize that you could measure a country by more than just the money it makes, but by also how happy the citizens are and the cleanliness of your natural resources and how well you take care of them and stuff like that. People who look to take natural as you say, just extract things and export them, they are focusing only on how much money can I make from this. If you have a people that is studying, okay, how could I develop my citizens? How could we take this and turn this into a developmental tool to make my citizens better? That's the kind of conversations that would encourage you to move from a product, from a ingredient to a product. And then from there you could say, okay, well we have this product, we could look to export it to other countries and make money in the process. But one of the things that we have to stop doing is
Mm.
stop just defining development as money because we could miss points like that. Because I think that's something that we in Trinidad do as well. We just extract or group and export, and we don't really look to see what products could be made from these kinds of things.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like we need to do better as a region. Like this is me now calling the entire calling out the entire Caribbean region. We need to do better. So Stoff, you want to say anything in closing before we end this one? We've been here for about 62 minutes and counting. Like it has been a very productive discussion, if you ask me. So if you want to say anything in closing,
I think the last thing is that as as the population becomes more educated, I think things will change, and I think that we move in a good direction because if education at the forefront, yes, we have a lot to go and a lot to worry about, but I do see there being a change in the culture and the way that we operate throughout the Caribbean. I mean, you meet a lot of bright people going to university and things like that. There's a big hope for us everywhere, you know what I'm saying? That's the last thing I would say.
mm-hmm. All right, Weshi.
Well, what I would say is that sustainable development isn't just a dollars and cents thing. I think the UN actually has 17 goals that they have for sustainable development. They have like gender equality, education, good health and well-being, clean water, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we lost Weshi again, boy. Oh yeah, so it has been. Oh, there he is back
I reached
again.
back there. I didn't even know.
Weshi, boy, yeah, we gotta get a modem for you, boy.
But yeah, watch now. It's not sustainable at all. But yeah, that'll be my closing statement. Like, don't just think of sustainable development as just the ability to either just save the environment or just make money while keeping the environment clean. Um, there are many legs to this. We can't have sustainable development in the Caribbean if we don't have proper gender equality, if children are getting a proper education, if there aren't jobs for people, if we're not helping to combat climate change. So sustainable development, there are multiple ways that we have to tackle it,
Yeah,
and we just have to keep thinking more and having these kinds of discussions.
agreed. And
And
if
I
I should say anything in
know
closing,
some
I feel like I run my mouth already
on the
enough. But
capitalism, like some different.
what's that? What's that?
Now I was saying I know some you could do on the capitalism, but that's a different topic for a different day.
All right, bro. So if I should say anything again, I would be, please, guys, get rid of the delusions that you have. Please do your best to educate yourselves. Yes, we have bright ideas. Yes, we have intelligent speech, but do not take anything that we say for gospel truth. Do not take anything we say for facts. Do your own research. That's what I advocate for right now. Do your own
True.
research, do a lot of reading, and try your best to understand what is going on around you and in your country. Because if you don't understand what's going on, then things will happen that you will never understand. That's the long and short of it. So keep blessed, guys. Stay safe, and yeah, don't be delusional. Delirant. Had to plug that one in there. So, guys, until next time, this will just be us signing off. Lorraine Wise. Oh, there we go. I wanted to show all of this. It's being difficult. It's this not being sustainable right now. What's going on? Right, there we go. So guys,
I
yeah, that's it.
people. Peace
It's
out.
been a pleasure,
Stay
guys.
safe.
Stay blessed, stay safe.
Stay
Yeah,
indoors,
man.
wear your mask.
Social distance. Don't run like Jenny, Jane, and Jacinta for a jam. Like it ain't making no sense. Christoph, I think that one is for you, boy.
What? That probably for Amu.
Wow, we going. Anyways, I'm not editing this out of the show. You heard it for yourself. You heard it who you heard it from. Let me even point in the right direction, right? You see this way? Let me go back. You see this way? This guy right here? He's the one who said that. Anyhow, take it easy, bro. Nah, 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 nah.
Six is real.